Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan and Friends. Here's your host, Russ McClellan.
Hey, welcome to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan. And today, it's not just friends, it's one friend. Not counting JP, the producer, who's actually a licensed real estate broker. There we go. I'm with Fletcher Ellingson. How you doing, Fletcher?
Hey, doing well. Good to see you.
Good. We got a lot to unpack about acknowledgement, I hear.
Yeah.
That word, acknowledgement, means a lot of things, probably. Depending on who you ask or depending on where you run across that word, it might mean some things. But to you, I know you've been studying acknowledgement for a while, and you've been doing some exceptional mindset coaching, business coaching with our agents, and I wanted to acknowledge you for that. And I also want to acknowledge you for your contribution, because not very many people see ahead, right? There's a lot of people that want instant gratification. They want to get value out of something today. But what you've done is you've agreed to invest in our students, and we have 50 plus new students in real estate school, a real estate school that happens to be free. And right now, coming after, 2.5 years of a world pandemic, there's a lot of people stuck. There's a lot of people wondering what to do next. How am I going to buy those AAU basketball shoes this year for summer camp? Well, real estate's one of those things that, good, bad, or indifferent, seems to always be around us. Seems to be going up. Rent seems to be going up. Inflation seems to be going up. Interest rates seem to be going up. But our wages don't always seem to be going up. Well, taking control of your money by maybe getting a real estate license is one way to do that. And you've committed to helping us. And I just wanted to acknowledge you for that, because you're going to coach our students. And you've offered to give them 3 sessions as part of this program each, to kind of get them on the right track from a mental perspective. Like I say, mindset eats strategies and tactics for breakfast in real estate. And you're a big part of that. I've coached with you. Luke and Sydney have coached with you. That's one of my partners. Lisa and Brian Boyle have coached. She only sold like 139 last year, so that's all right by herself, like a mutant. But anyway, you've helped a lot of people in our firm, so thank you. So maybe just let you go.
Yeah, you bet. Let's talk about acknowledgement. First of all, thanks for the intro, and appreciate those kind words. And I am excited to work with your teams. And yeah, entrepreneurship, that takes a lot. And it's exciting when we get out there, and then pretty soon we find out, holy smokes, a little tougher than I thought. I don't have all the marbles I thought I had that are going to win this game. So we get, stuck behind fear, and we get stuck by self-doubt and insecurity. So mindset. Yeah,
for sure.
So let's talk about today. We're talking about acknowledgement. I love this topic. But do you mind if we talk about one other thing before that?
Hey, whatever we want to talk about, man.
Let's talk about appreciation. And this is something that real estate people know a lot about, because one of the main reasons people buy a home is for that appreciation, right? Over time, the value of that home goes up. We hope, right? In most cases, it does. So we get into real estate with the idea that, this is going to be my home, but after a few years, that value will have increased. It will have appreciated. And I love this concept. In real estate, we have to wait for time to appreciate, for that appreciation to happen. But what I want to talk about is appreciation in relationships. And this is such a cool concept. When I begin to appreciate you, Russ, and I say, I really appreciate, Russ, that the fact that you are so giving and you are so invested in your agents and so invested in your business. I love that you give financially, you give of your time, you give of your emotions, you're a mentor to people. I really appreciate the things you do for our community. Now, and I mean all that, but not just using it.
Not a sales pitch.
Not just an example. And I mean all that. But the cool thing, what happens is when we begin to appreciate each other verbally, we raise the value of that person. We increase the value of that individual. Just like a home appreciates in value, we've just appreciated the value of that individual, first of all, in our mind, right? Because I'm taking an inventory of your strengths, of those great qualities of Russ. And hopefully you're appreciating yourself. Hopefully your own self-value is now going up because you're like, hey, he's got a good point there. I am a good guy, you know? So we feel good about ourselves. We appreciate, we can appreciate someone's value just by speaking it. And I love that concept. And that's different than acknowledgement. And so before we get to that, what I want to encourage your listeners to consider is, how can I increase the value of my wife, the value of my children, the value of my friends? How can I increase the value of my employers, my colleagues? And how you do that is simply by taking an inventory of those great qualities that they have and saying it to them, mentioning it to them.
Yeah, is this in context similar to what we've talked about before? When you speak of verbal affirmation, your brain doesn't care if it's true or not. It just tries to find the evidence to support your statements.
Exactly.
And so sometimes it's a life hack, right?
Yep.
I mean, if you say you're ugly enough times a day, your brain's going to find the evidence.
You got it. Yep.
And if you say you're beautiful, hence affirmations, your brain's going to find the evidence to support that. So let me ask you something without getting too far gone. We have a lot to unpack about this. And it's interesting to me. Why do you think it's so much easier to be judgmental than it is to appreciate?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is because we're practiced at it. We are so practiced at noticing what's not going well, where people are falling short, where people screwed up, where they didn't get it right, where I didn't get it right? I mean, because self-judgment as well. So we're practiced at it. It's been modeled for us since early on, and we just became very masterful. And so the opportunity for us is to take this concept of appreciation and begin practicing the heck out of it. And what a wonderful tool to have in your tool belt if you're in the real estate game, if you're in sales. Like, I don't mean just false flattery. I mean like really appreciating your clients, like appreciating working with them and letting them know, like, this is really fun hanging out with you. I'm really glad we've connected. It's fun showing you these homes. It's fun getting to know you. You know, you begin to appreciate your client, and what happens is you build this association, and now that person associates you as a feel-good person to be around, right? I mean, it's we're not doing it from a point of manipulating, but that's just the natural result of when you begin to appreciate people.
So being practiced at a lot of things from day one, you're born, you're raised, you're programmed, you get accustomed to comfort levels. It's interesting, isn't it, that so often you run across people that are pretty good at appreciating other people, but never good at, or very rarely good at appreciating themselves.
I love that you brought that up, because that's the other area where we can improve and begin practicing, appreciating myself. And we are definitely not practiced at that, right? So again, I would encourage those listening to really get serious about practicing self-appreciation.
What would be an example of how you start if you're not used to that?
Yeah, you bet. So appreciating, I was just talking with somebody the other day who didn't have much in the way of savings, and what they can, and they were kind of down on themselves about it. What they can do is each time they put any money, even the slightest bit, I don't care if it's $1, I don't care if it's $5, I don't care if it's change you find on the ground, but you put that in your savings account, you begin to appreciate yourself. Like, wow, I just did that. I literally just appreciated my value financially, but I'm appreciating the fact that I'm in action around building wealth, right?
Yeah. We had a coaching session the other day. I don't know if it was when we were talking in person, but we were, I was telling you about cleaning my kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, a perfect example.
Right.
Yeah, share that.
Well, it sounds pretty shallow, because at times I probably was. But for years, I had a habit of leverage. I was focused on real estate. So I would just do real estate. And anything that didn't land in the real estate sector, I had done or hired done. Like, somehow I leveraged that out. So cleaning my kitchen, doing the dishes, doing laundry, it was like for a long time, in my life, that wasn't really something. If I couldn't find somebody to do it or pay somebody to do it, then it just stacked up.
Yes.
And then I started making that part of a habit, like not necessarily out of anything, but just trying to cohabitate with my fiance basically and say we're getting married next month, and it's like out of respect almost. So she didn't feel like, hey, why do I got to do this all the time? Or like I was expecting her to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I created a little more balance, and pretty soon I started to actually, she appreciates that, and then I appreciated it. Like I'd look at it like to your point about putting money in a savings account, like, hey, it's not $1 million house, but it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a very subtle, but it's consistent.
Absolutely.
And it made me feel better.
Yeah. Appreciation helps us feel better, helps other people feel better.
Yeah. It's an interesting, and it's, this sounds silly, like something that weird, but I mean, if we dissect each and every one of us, we all are weird. Right?
Yeah.
Every single person I've ever met is pretty strange. And then it's like, well, becoming vulnerable and honest about that, and instead of like trying to pack that into the corner, never talk about it, never share weakness, be vulnerable. So anyway, we come back in this next segment. I'd like to continue this, if it's all right with you.
You bet.
Got a lot to talk about today. We'll be right back with Home Sweet Home and Russ McClellan and Friends.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Home sweet home, home sweet home.
Hey, this is Russ McClellan with Keller Williams. I want to talk to you about something. Do you feel stuck? Do you feel the financial pressures of the COVID virus? That was fun, wasn't it? I'll tell you what, real estate can be a game changer for you, and I'm here to help you. If you want to give me a call at 509-888-0038, I want to talk about your life and getting unstuck. We are growing rapidly. We're the fastest growing real estate company in all of North Central Washington. Give us a call. I want to help you. 509-888-0038.
With the new Keller Williams School of Real Estate, you can now get your license for free. Access tools, tips, and personalized coaching with Keller Williams award-winning training programs, and start off your career in real estate the right way. K-Score is 100% online and entirely free to students, with pre-licensing curriculum geared toward placing aspiring agents on a direct path to licensure and profitability. With K-Score, we're not just unlocking the door, we're opening every door to anyone that's ever dreamed of starting their career in real estate. We're making a difference for you so that you can make a difference for others. Now available for all individuals in Washington. Your future awaits. Enroll today.
We're excited. We got a lot of people signing up, so give us a call, 509-888-0038, or simply email us at joinus@kwncw.com. Let's go from being stuck to unstuck.
You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. And here's Russ.
Hey, self-acknowledgement, acknowledgement. Fletcher, we're talking mindset and acknowledgement. What does it all mean?
Yeah, so acknowledgement is a powerful concept, and it's widely misunderstood. So let me explain what I mean by that. Have you ever been acknowledged by somebody and they did their best to acknowledge you, but you walked away from it thinking, oh man, they left out the best part. Right? They forgot to mention, that one thing I was really proud of. So that's one response we have to acknowledgement. Like, oh man, they didn't even get to that thing that I was really proud of, or I really wanted to be acknowledged for. Or sometimes we'll acknowledge somebody, and their frequent response is, don't mention it, Russ. Don't mention it. You'd have done the same. Anybody would have done the same. Don't even think about it. So we brush off the acknowledgement. We just kind of bat it away, right? And we don't breathe it in. Or we secretly are skipped over. Somebody else gets the acknowledgement, and I'm like, man, how come they didn't say anything to me? Right? So there's this craving to be acknowledged. and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not vanity. We're just hardwired. We want to feel a sense of significance.
Let me ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
Why is it uncomfortable if we crave acknowledgement? When we get it, we instantly will brush it off, or we'll be like, it's not very comfortable for you to be saying good things about me to my face. That makes me feel weird.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's flying in the face of this other belief that we've been taught that says, hey, don't be braggadocious. Hey, don't toot your own horn. Right? Yeah. You don't want to be egotistical, arrogant. You don't want a big head. Be humble. We mistake humble as never talking about what's going well for us, right? And so if a really cool practice is getting in the habit of acknowledging yourself and acknowledging others, but here's the fun way to do it. Instead of waiting to be acknowledged and hoping they get it right, what if you just asked to be acknowledged? What if you said, hey, Russ, this cool thing happened today. Or, hey, Russ, check out the home. I just totally cleaned it from top to bottom. It'd feel really good to be acknowledged for that. So in my marriage, for instance, we acknowledge each other. And sometimes I'll just say to my wife, hey, babe, is there anything that you want to be acknowledged for? Anything going on either at work or in your home that you'd like to be acknowledged for? And she'll think about it. She'll be like, yeah, actually there is. Now, here's the thing about acknowledgement. I don't have to agree with you. If you say, I'd like to be acknowledged for this really cool thing at work. I mean, I wasn't at your workplace. I didn't see it. I don't know the story. I don't even have to agree, but I can acknowledge you. And so she'll share the story with me. And then I'll say, hey, babe, that's so cool. I'd like to acknowledge you for, and then I just kind of repeat back to what she said. And it's a really powerful thing because, see, I'm using the words that she just gave me to acknowledge her. And it feels really good. And then I'll say to her, is there anything else? And here's where the magic happens. Because frequently when we're acknowledged, there's that thing like we're not practiced at it. So when we hear it back, well, it'll trigger something else like, oh yeah, I'd like to also be acknowledged for this other thing and this other thing. If you do this with kids, little kids, they've got a long list, right? Because they don't understand yet. They haven't been squelched yet. Mm-hmm. They're like, it's okay to celebrate. It kind of goes along with celebration. It's a way of celebrating each other. Like celebrating who that person is, what they did, And again, you don't even have to agree with it because it's what they want to be acknowledged for. So it's a pretty cool practice.
Yeah, so often we'll say things like, hey, I'm proud of you.
Yes.
But it's not insensitive, it's not shallow, it's just not specific.
Yeah.
So people sometimes, if I say, hey, I'm proud of you, my fiance will be like, for what? I'm like, I don't know. Oops, I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar. I was just trying to be nice,
Right,
and then I'm like, I'm not I didn't mean it, but then when you called me on it, I don't know exactly what to say now.
Yeah.
But what that does is it's made a practice, because you coached with her too, right? It makes a practice where I stop to think about it a little bit more, give it a little bit more intention, then a little bit more specificity. And then that statement of acknowledgement means more. Yeah.
And here's the other thing, because sometimes somebody might be working on something in their life that nobody knows about, right? It could be in their business, it could be in their relationships, whatever. It could be in their finances, but they haven't made it public. But if you said, hey, so-and-so, is there anything that's going on in your life that you'd like to be acknowledged for? And they might be like, gosh, you know what, Russ? I've totally been working hard on changing my body or getting to that next level of fitness or being showing up more powerfully in my marriage. And you just get to confirm that for them. Like, hey, Rick, I want to really acknowledge you for showing up more powerfully in your marriage recently and putting the effort into it.
Yeah, it's interesting, when you go through difficult times or you go through challenges that nobody knows about, it's a catch-22 in a way. Because for real life, vulnerable stuff for me is when my mom and dad died with dementia. That was a lot of work to hang with them. I was very blessed to be able to have my mom and dad both move in with me. And with my mom, my sister moved in with me for 6 months as well. My oldest sister, Kelly, who was my mom's caregiver. They both had dementia. We both went through this place. Well, the world around me, my business, relationships, the franchise that I have at Keller Williams, there's a lot of things that pulled me. That was a heavy weight, but I don't really bring it up. And so there are times where it's interesting because you're caught between this, well, I could have excelled better here if I wasn't feeling so much weight here, but I don't want to bring that up. But I wish you would acknowledge that at least you understand it. Like, I joke around, and I say, if you're in a firefight, nobody cares what color shoes you're wearing, right? And what that means to me is like, stop whining, right? So I got practice at not caring, but deep down you're human, so you do care.
Yes.
So it's an interesting dichotomy, so to speak.
Yes.
Does that make sense at all?
It totally does. Yeah. And by the way, Russ, is there something that you'd like to be acknowledged for?
Yeah, see, that's, when you were talking, it was like, and the other thing you said was interesting is I hit a goal of a net profit, and we have regional meetings, so as a franchise, just like if I had a McDonald's franchise and I said, hey, I'm going to use Russ McClellan French fries today, guys, at the franchise, McDonald's corporate's going to be like, sorry, Jack, you're using McDonald's fries. That's franchise. Well, in Keller Williams, we have systems and models. So it was interesting when I hit a very large, above a 6-digit gain in net profit, but maybe my growth of agents wasn't where it could have been. So on one hand, it was funny when you're saying, well, they acknowledged me for the fact that I didn't grow as fast as I could have. Hey, but I did I did this,
right?
Jack. And it's funny that your brain just kind of goes both ways. Like you could be really surprised and touched by somebody saying acknowledgement, but you can also be slighted by the one they didn't acknowledge.
Exactly. They didn't even mention that.
Yeah.
The best part. So was there something you'd like to be acknowledged for, Russ?
Hey, I love it when people acknowledge me in a way that, which means the most to me probably. For example, when I got acknowledged by my peers in 2020 for being inducted into the Hall of Fame, that was an acknowledgement for me that was really touching, right? I think I'm very practiced about not worrying about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when it happens, something like that, where you get inducted into a Hall of Fame by your peers, it's like, wow, that's only 30 people in 30 years, one a year, right? And to me, those kind of acknowledgments mean a lot. It's the ones that I'm getting used to, just the little stuff. And it's funny because I never really thought about it for a long, long time. So it's like I'm a rookie at the whole game.
Right.
So when you say that, is there something to be, it's like my brain goes blank.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? So it's cool that you noticed that. We're so unpracticed at it that our brain just kind of goes, nothing comes up on the screen.
Yeah, everything but the answer.
Yeah.
That's normal test taking.
Yeah.
Right. I got a lot of answers. They're just not right.
Yeah. So there's some homework for you. You can figure out what would I like to be acknowledged for? And then, have somebody acknowledge you, whether it's me or JP or Audie, or just say, hey, I'd like to be acknowledged for something. I mean, it takes vulnerability to say that, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because when I look at this business of real estate and going through the 30 years that I've done, it's most gratifying for me when people believe that your intention is honorable and not like there's an angle.
Mm-hmm.
And when they you asked me that question, when they acknowledge me for that, like today we had a big lunch and learn, pizza. I kind of blew that because I didn't get any salad dressing, but it's they didn't acknowledge me for that, Fletcher. Kelly saved me and went and got some. Pizza and salad, and then everybody shows up, and we're basically just trying to pour knowledge and confidence into people, self-esteem into people by giving them information they can use. And then when they leave, they acknowledge me for that. And to me, that's the legacy in real estate that I'm trying to live, is that we want to change lives to the life they want and the life they deserve, using real estate as the vehicle to do it. So
I love it.
Pretty simple. Hey, we'll be right back. Got our third segment with Fletcher Ellingson, Mindset Ninja. Right back in a few minutes.
Keller Williams.
With the new Keller Williams School of Real Estate, you can now get your license for free. Access tools, tips, and personalized coaching with Keller Williams award-winning training programs, and start off your career in real estate the right way. K-Score is 100% online and entirely free to students, with pre-licensing curriculum geared toward placing aspiring agents on a direct path to licensure and profitability. With K-Score, we're not just unlocking the door, we're opening every door to anyone that's ever dreamed of starting their career in real estate. We're making a difference for you so that you can make a difference for others. Now available for all individuals in Washington. Your future awaits. Enroll today.
We're excited. We got a lot of people signing up, so give us a call, 509-888-0038, or simply email us at joinus@kwncw.com. Let's go from being stuck to unstuck. Hi, this is Russ McClellan, designated broker and operating partner of Keller Williams Realty NCW. You know, we have almost 70 agents and growing rapidly. The good news is this: if you're thinking about changing your life, my goal and my mission to you is to help you transform the life that you deserve and that you want, using real estate as the vehicle to do that. What does that mean? Well, it means whatever you want it to mean. If you want to work part-time, I'll show you how to do it. If you want to work full-time, I'll show you how to do it. And I'm also willing to show and demonstrate our commitment to you and our conviction to our company and transparency by giving you any of the numbers of any of the 70 people that work at Keller Williams. We're a family, we care about each other, and we care about you. So if you want to change your life, you want to get into real estate and have some fun, let's get together and talk. 509-888-0038. Give me a call anytime. You can also call my cell phone at 509-470-2416.
You're tuned to Russ McClellan and Friends on the real estate show Home Sweet Home. Let's get back to Russ.
Fletcher Ellingson and I are hanging out with our producer JP, talking about acknowledgement and appreciation. And it's an interesting word, acknowledgement, Fletcher. It's like one of those crazy things. The more you think about it, the more you kind of go down different rabbit holes.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, as we were just talking in between the segments, I was thinking the other thing that happens in acknowledgement is you get to see that person. You know, I love, there's been a couple of movies who use this. There's been really intimate scenes, and one of the characters will say, "Hey, I see you." You know, like it's like that moment of being present. I'm really present to you. I'm seeing you. And when we acknowledge people, there's some of that involved. You're seeing them. And especially if they're telling you what they want to be acknowledged for, it's even a new level because they're being so vulnerable, right? We're not saying what we're acknowledging them for because we're so impressed by it. They've come up with it. They've given us, so we get to see them at a deeper level.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's simple. And what's weird about the pandemic is that, and the information, like overload, turbocharged information from all angles hitting us all the time. What I'm finding is almost the simpler you can make things and like get back to the basics in your life, the minimalistic stuff. And it's interesting that of all the things you could say that could be magical soliloquies to your spouse or your son or daughter, loved ones or friends, sometimes just saying, I acknowledge you for something.
Yes.
And it, like all of a sudden that has more meaning, more power than the greatest Mark Twain books you could try to paraphrase, or some Darwin quotes.
Exactly.
None of that means anything. Just acknowledge me for cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah,
Thanks.
exactly. Isn't that what we want so much of the time? Just like, hey, I blew out the garage, it feels good. Would love to just be acknowledged for that, right?
Yeah, Audie's coached with you, I can tell, because I get that a lot.
Right on.
I get that a lot. Hey, you notice anything? I'm like, oh, God, I should acknowledge it for something. What is it?
Yeah, and so, again, what I'd love to just ask your listeners here is, what would be possible if we began to appreciate one another more, appreciate ourselves, acknowledge each other more? What would change in some of your relationships? First of all, they'd probably be blown away, right?
Yeah.
They'd be like, what do you mean? They'll maybe be suspicious of you, right? What are you getting at? What's the angle here? Nope. Just want to appreciate you. We just want to acknowledge you.
Yeah, the habits that you build are fascinating. I had an instructor friend of mine come over, and we have a class called the 6 Personal Perspectives. One of the things that she talked about in this class, and that she was from the West Side, but came to our market center in Wenatchee to teach, was about habits that are just not serving you, but you do them every single day. And what we were doing is when I'd wake up, before the light was on, before my eyes opened, before I was even awake, I had the phone in my face. And then like ding, 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 ding. I mean, I'm just getting blitzed by contracts. You know, I got 70 plus brokers. I'm just bam, 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 bam. And I haven't even like woke up yet.
Right.
And I was thinking, man, that is about the stupidest thing you can do. Like maybe you could just spend a couple minutes just being thankful you woke up, kind of having some moments of gratitude. And so what Audie and I decided to do is say, before we go grab those phones, and, you know, we need to focus on each other and wake up telling each other what we're grateful for. Mm-hmm. And maybe we could ask about that. Grateful, gratitude, and acknowledgement. How does that circle work?
Ooh, you know what? That is such a great question. So what I love about gratitude is this. So let me back up. When we are acknowledging somebody or appreciating them, it's for something that they've done. The cool thing about gratitude is we're usually grateful for something for which we cannot take credit. It has nothing to do with, like, I'm grateful. I mean, look out the window right now. It's beautiful,
day,
sunny. I'm so grateful for the sun today. I had nothing to do with that, right? I'm grateful that we've got wonderful, nicely built roads between Chelan and Wenatchee. I had nothing to do with that. You know, so gratitude usually shows up for things for which we cannot take credit, and that increases our awareness as well. And life really is the sum of your awareness.
Yeah, appreciating versus just the darkness. And the darkness in uncertainty, we talked about this a lot, and it seems like they're all kind of linked, is when you have times of tragedy or times of challenge or uncertainty, it seems counterintuitive in a way, or like counterproductive, I guess would be a better word, that you're going to go start saying, I appreciate someone, or I am grateful for something, when you really just want to say, this sucks.
Yeah, right.
But if you say this sucks, then your brain's going, okay, let me go find the evidence to prove that your life sucks.
Yep.
You are a loser, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just quit. But when you say, I'm grateful for the sun, that sounds corny. But what is weird to me is how that tricks your mind in a way. But if you stop and think about it, we're exercising our mind with so much garbage. I mean, think about 15 years ago or 25 years ago. Think about our childhood, Fletcher. You were about the same age. I was trying to imagine what it'd be like to grow up as a kid right now.
Different, right?
Whoa, yeah, like just the bombardment of data.
I can't even imagine.
It's strange to think about because incrementally it doesn't change that much. And yet we run around and it's creating this environment. I talked about it the other day in coaching, where sometimes real estate brokers that have more experience are at a disadvantage. And that's also kind of strange because, wait a minute, if you public speak more, you're going to get better at it. But sometimes you miss things and sometimes you develop habits. And then the world changes. And now you got social media.
Yeah, and those habits they don't work in this new era.
That's a long ways from a map and a beeper and a payphone when I started, right?
Exactly.
So it comes back down to, if life is changing and you're not accustomed to certain practices, you've developed habits that might have served you once, but you didn't adapt. And so when it feels corny, I guess my point is, when something feels corny or out of vogue or not the way you were raised, well, that's because it's not the time and you're living now is not the time in which you were raised in.
Right, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It feels corny or it feels uncomfortable, right? It feels, again, it could feel vulnerable, right? You could feel exposed, could feel silly. But those practices are so important, like the practice you and Audie do, like where you're appreciating each other in the morning before reaching for your phone. Super powerful. Like, does that magnify your relationship or does it detract from it?
Well, it definitely focuses on it because the first day she said, well, you made it a minute and a half. That's not bad. Before you grabbed your phone. Nice work. I was like, darn it. But you're still aware of it, right? You're being honest with yourself about your habit.
Yeah.
And so often until you focus on something, I didn't even know that I've done that, but I've probably done that for years.
Yeah.
I've probably been working at 3:30 in the morning for as long as I can remember. As long as I've had a smartphone anyway.
I believe it. Yeah.
And so you just go by your day and you're like, dang, why am I feel like my brain's going to explode? Oh, and then you ever see your phone screen time? You ever have that app that says, yeah, you spent 7.5 hours looking at your phone today?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And I notice it when I go hunting and I have no social media, I have no phones, and it takes like 3 days for me to stop shaking. And then I'm like, withdrawals.
Yep.
And then I mellow out, and then I'm like, I never want to see another phone again. And then it's just peace.
Yes.
You just get rejuvenated, right?
Yeah.
I think the point is that to be vulnerable and to be authentic is actually pretty damn sexy.
Oh, man.
I mean, reality.
No, for sure. I mean, that's why people love like artists. That's why they love rock stars or people who are performers on stage. Because they see vulnerability and it's super attractive. Why? Because it's so rare. Yeah. It is so rare to meet people who are vulnerable, right? And when we appreciate and acknowledge people, there's a level of vulnerability / connection happening, which is why it feels good.
Yeah, and the selflessness, the humility and the selflessness that comes along with, if you did something together and you are the person that has to have I don't know, it's weird because on one hand you want the credit and you want to be acknowledged for it. But on the other hand, you are selfless and taught not to be braggadocious, like you said, right? Yep. So you're walking this crazy fine line. But I have found that by giving it away, by just simply coming from that place of contribution and abundance, versus that scarcity, selfish, the pie is only so big. The world just expands.
Yeah. And here's the other cool thing about that is that it's free and it doesn't take any energy from you. It actually creates more energy, right?
We're going to do another show. What would you like to leave them with? We got a minute for today's show about acknowledgement. Yeah.
I would say begin the practice, and all you do is say, hey, is there something in your life that you would like to be acknowledged for?
That's awesome stuff. Every once in a while on a radio show about real estate, we talk about real estate, but ironically, your mindset has to do with everything, including real estate. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, Fletcher. I acknowledge you for being the man you are, showing up, always being present, always helping everybody that I know. You're willing to help every time I ask you, so it's fantastic. Before we let you go, Fletcher, how can people get a hold of you for your coaching and questions and so on?
Yeah, you bet. Go to FletcherEllingson.com or 509-679-0927.
Sounds great. We'll be right back with Sharon Crockett and PrimeLending.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true.
Hey, this is Russ, McClellan, operating partner and designated broker of Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, I'm excited to say we are growing at an unprecedented rate. We're almost 70 real estate brokers and popping about 3 deals a day in some cases. It's really pretty fun. And the reason I wanted to do an ad today was about our people. The culture of Keller Williams is really simple this. We believe in an abundant mindset, not a scarcity mindset. What does that mean? Well, although we're competitive, we all go out and try to get some similar listings. And with almost 70 people, you might think that that's a problem. But in reality, with an abundant mindset, we know that for us to win, you don't have to lose. With our creative marketing that is unbelievable, with our operating system Command, we're reaching literally hundreds of thousands of people instantly. So if you're interested in selling or buying with one of our agents, trust me, you won't be disappointed. Give us a call at our office, 509-888-0038, or email me direct at russ@frontlinechelan.com. Hi, this is Russ McClellan with Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, I have an exciting opportunity that I want to share. Keller Williams is partnered with the largest real estate school in the country, and we are now offering free real estate training. That includes not just the 90 hours that you need for pre-licensing requirements by the state of Washington, but real-life practical experience as well. Give us a call at 509-888-0038 or email us at joinus@kwncw.com.
You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and Friends. And here's Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and Friends. That was awesome stuff. My man Fletcher Ellingson, the Mindset Ninja. Right now I got Sharon Crockett. Hi, Sharon.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. Sharon's with PrimeLending. Sharon, Crockett, and Michael Maher and team. And there's a lot of things popping in the game of finance. So I thought maybe I'd just ask you, like, what are you seeing? What are you trying to get across in today's world? Because it seems like we're getting all kinds of info. We just don't know which is the right info.
Yes, very, very true. Lots of questions, lots of assumptions, all sorts of things flying around out there. And in a changing environment, finances, inflation, interest rates, people are all over the board and wondering what to do. And it's affecting, the decisions they're making as far as waiting to sell, waiting to buy. All those kinds of things are conversations we're having right now.
I'm afraid, and tell me if you think I'm crazy, but I'm afraid that it could be a perfect storm in a bad way if people wait. I definitely understand why you want to wait, because you haven't found the right place, or maybe you're hoping prices are going to soften. But all of a sudden, what if we wait 6 to 9 months and now the interest rates are higher, which is, like you mentioned, one way that the Federal Reserve usually counteracts inflation is raising rates to slow the economy, et cetera. But what if you have higher rates and higher prices? That's not good.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. People are, pausing their decisions based on thinking exactly that. Are prices going to come down? And, things going to soften. Maybe I'll get a better deal. Maybe I'll save more and put more down. In fact, just today we did a cost of waiting analysis on a client of ours, an engineer who is thinking about buying a home. Went over the payments with him, went over the price and the details. And at the end, he said these exact words. He said, I think I'm going to wait to save more, to put a little bit more down so that my payment will be lower. And so what we did was we showed him payments and prices and rates now in February. We showed them a projection of what June might look like as far as a slightly higher price and definitely a higher rate. And then December, slightly higher than that and a little bit more on the rate, and putting more down. We put it from 10% down to 15% down in December. And even with more down, the rate and the price made his payment about $150 to $200 more a month. Even with putting more down than he would, now he's thinking 10% down, but 15% down was what he was thinking he might save for. And yeah, the payments are still going to be higher. So the moral of the story is don't wait, because you might be looking back. And, as long as there's a demand to live here, and inventory is not keeping up with that demand, then prices are not going to go down.
Yeah, Econ 101, supply and demand.
Yep.
And supply constraints are real. Just for people that don't know, there's a couple right off the bat. Well, we have these things called mountains. We can't build straight on till morning. We run into a mountain. So the available land is an issue. We have topography is there. We have infrastructure, government regulations, zoning. These are all basic problems that can't be changed immediately. So if you have more and more people coming and not enough real estate, that we're down a lot as a percentage of a year ago in inventory. I agree with you. I think prices are going to keep going up. And the other thing is the average income isn't the average income anymore. What we're seeing is people are being able to work from home, and they have a W-2 from the west side of the mountains, even though they're now living on the east side of the mountains. So they're willing to pay more money than they have ever paid. So I had it happen this morning where someone said, hey, they're saving $5,000 a month and they want to wait till the end of the year. And I said, well, that's great. Unless rates go to 4 or 5, then what? And then that's
exactly
the point, right? So let's talk about what you guys do. You said a cost of waiting and analysis. Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, it's a really awesome presentation that we do for clients that is a spreadsheet, but a very user-friendly, easy to understand format where they can interact with the program itself and click around inside the presentation. It's an electronic presentation that we email clients, and we can customize it for any price point, any down payment, any program, any interest rate, and show them 2 or 3 options of what it would look like if they waited. And also just in general, comparing loan options from FHA to conventional, or maybe 3% versus 5% versus 10% down. So it's really about educating our clients. And anymore, I mean, you know this, Russ, because you guys share this same philosophy at Keller Williams at your office there. And it really takes more of an advisory role. You know, it's not just about getting people pre-approved or taking them out and opening up the door to show them a house, but it's coming alongside them and advising them on the conditions of the market, the different programs, why we do things the way we do, listening to people and answering their questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, to your point, it's about working together. You know, I tell the brokers at Keller Williams that we quarterback transactions and we have allied forces in the program. And so some of the creativeness that we can do on deal structuring, we would then, for example, lean into your enhancement loan. And for people that are struggling to find that house in their price point, to me, that's one method of creativity that really, if I asked one of our coaching moments today, we had about 15, 20 people here. And I said, how many people do you think across all realtors know about the 18 enhancement loans of PrimeLending? And the consensus was they felt maybe 5% of the realtors knew that loan. At least how to articulate it. And what I tell people is, hey, look, let's go find you the ugly duckling. That takes imagination, takes work to get it to be the home you want. But that's so much better with your program to be able to add a bedroom, add a bathroom, change a kitchen, add a garage, you name it, than it is to go necessarily compete with retail, meaning everything is perfect. Because that's where the bulk of the buyers are going. So all of a sudden you can get instant equity even in a seller's market. I mean, let me say that again. You can get instant equity even in a seller's market if you're willing to work with the right people with a plan, and then they work together like the realtor and the lender. So yeah, right. I appreciate it. You know, my son did it, right? So it's like when he's done, he's going to have a lot of equity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes that extra step of explaining, you know, those loans are not, you know, we do a lot of them, so we're blessed to be experienced in facilitating those. But if people don't do those a lot, or and they're not, it's kind of like a foreign language. So, you know, it really just is taking that extra step to explain the steps involved and cover the expectations, and also really encourage people, because people can be intimidated by just the thought or the mention of a rehab or enhancement loan. It's foreign to people. They don't hear it all the time. It's not always talked about, like you said. So it takes time for us to be able to go into that and be encouraging at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what's good about what you guys do. You do come alongside people confidentially and kind of start with the end in mind, reverse engineer it to a plan, and then work with the people in the industry that work closely together to help that plan become a reality. And it's kind of a lost art. I mean, I don't know how exactly how many years I've been in this business, but a long time, I mean, 30 or so. And it's
something like that. I know.
And it's still funny how many myths, like lending myths, are out there. Like, I need 20% to buy a house, or, I mean, I still hear them, and I still hear people, even in the industry, our industry as realtors and in lending, giving bad advice. And I'm always encouraging people, hey, get a second opinion, get a third opinion, you know. Try to get some referrals, because there's some bad actors, unfortunately, out there, and it's true in every industry. It's true. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that there's a way to do most things. It might take some time and some planning, like you said, Sharon, but that's the cool thing about the partnership that we have and relationship of being able to trust the people we refer our buyers to, and vice versa, is that you're coming from integrity at PrimeLending, and that says a lot to me.
Yeah, well, we love our clients, we love our job, and you know, it's not an easy job. Lending in real estate It's not as easy. I don't know if it's ever been easy, but it's definitely harder than it's ever been. So you really need someone that's going to do that, go the extra mile and walk alongside you.
Yeah. So when people, what's right now, would you recommend people to lock, if you get an approval and you find a home, at what point do you typically recommend they lock their interest rate? And basically explain what that means to people.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we at PrimeLending have a very unique product called our float down. So we lock every client because we have the option of floating them down. If rates do take the direction of coming back down, we can float them down for free to the next lowest rate. But if they're locked, then they're also protected from them going up. So we pick the number of days that we need. If the closing is a 30-day closing, then we can lock them in for 30 days, but we can also lock up to 240 days if we need to. So we have all different kinds of options for people to protect their interest rate.
Great. We have about a minute left. Is there anything that you'd like to share? Any more thoughts about that? Because it's probably going up, right? I mean, interest rates are probably going up, so timing might be important.
It definitely has already gone up. We're headed towards fours, the fours, even the low fours, and different products depending on your, particular situation. So definitely get a hold of us at yourstorybeginshere.net or 425-327-1451. You can get a hold of myself or our team members, and we'll take good care of you, get a pre-approval, and get your rate locked in.
All right. Thank you so much, Sharon. I appreciate it. Hey, I appreciate everybody.
You.
Yeah, you bet. Hope everybody has a great day. Get outside, spend some time getting some fresh air. Winter's almost behind us. Let's have some fun, connect. Give us a call anytime you want. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you very, very much.
It's a bright new day, just came my way. I bought a new home, yeah, home, sweet home, oh, home, sweet home. Keller Williams, I love my dream home. Yeah, I love my dream home. Home, sweet home.